Hello, and welcome to the Amber Stitt Show. I am your host, Amber Stitt, and today we welcome back my friend and colleague, Bryan from Echelon Technologies. Welcome back, Bryan.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
So in previous episodes, we have really drilled down into CyberSecurity 101. We shared some stories, unfortunate stories about what is going on out there between just the dark web and then the surface web. We talked about that, and then acronyms to teach what to look out for, but kind of some steps. So all of that's been linked up in previous episodes in the description boxes, and I'm going to do that again in this episode. But today I'd like to have a shorter episode to really talk through some steps. If a person is going to use a cybersecurity team, what does the cybersecurity team do? And I know that you have a story, I think, with one of your clients prior to having you guys on board. Just some of the things you can face as a small business owner if you don't take this seriously. So I'm going to let you dive in and share some steps. That way people can see, all right, if I don't have this, I need to check this off the list. I need to get this going. And then how this really worked within one of your client firms. So I'll let you take it from there, Bryan.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thanks again for having me back. I appreciate it. So today I want to share a story about a CPA firm that we work with and how he got to our state and how he came to us for really helping to manage and mitigate the risk that he is sitting on. And it all stems from one final story of a previous partner of his who at their prior company, the new receptionist actually got hit with a business email compromise, a whale phishing email. So they impersonated the CEO, asked her to wire $20,000 off while he was in a meeting, needed her to wire the money off while he was in the meeting and email him to let him know that it had been done. And he would call her once he got out of the meeting. So she did that, didn't think anything of it too much. A few days later, they came back and tried to hit him again. So two things raise red flags there.
Wow.
Really, they let 20 grand go out the door and didn't realize it. Well, yeah, they were that big, that much cash flow. Two, the guys had enough guts to come back and do it again.
Okay.
So,
lots of meat in the whale meat. I don't know, fishing. Okay, so a new hire has access to wire information. Okay, so this could be any one of us that just goes, okay, we're in an interesting environment now trying to hire teams. This person is new and wired that much money, assuming just, okay, this new boss wants this. I mean, this is huge because we wouldn't assume that people that we would hire would approve such things. We wouldn't think common sense that would be a natural reaction. And then it happened a second time. So, I mean, this is so key how education is so important for any people on the team.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And her position was such that she would handle money like that. This company is a multi-million-dollar company, so 20 grand going out the door was not. I mean, it wasn't until the second time that she actually called the CEO and said, am I really supposed to send this again? And he said, what do you mean again?
Right.
So she didn't last very long, unfortunately, but it's just a testament to, again, the humans being the weakest link. So they were partners at the time. So this gentleman who I speak of now, the CPA firm, he's out on his own. He has two offices, one in Missouri and one in Arizona, which is probably too much information in itself. But he came to us and said, look, I want to mitigate my risk. I want to make sure that I am not, I don't have a bunch of data out there or, a bunch of risk sitting out there. And sure enough, he does. He has about $335,000 in residual risk that he's sitting on. And that comes in the form of all kinds of different things, such as a clearinghouse number, social security information, email, PII, personal identifiable information, credit card information, Visa, MasterCard, U.S. driver's licenses, American Express is on there. All these things are on his local systems that if he were to get hacked,
Right.
he's going to jail probably, quite honestly, but his business is certainly going to be under. So these are things that you can take, that business owners can take, steps that they can take today that doesn't have to, break the bank, which the first would be to get a risk assessment performed
Okay.
on your business.
Like a business
Through companies such
valuation,
as-
it's a risk assessment for the practice, the business. Okay.
Right. 100%. And this is going to evaluate local devices, the networks, things that are on there, PII, the different things that I just described. Because today it's not so much about technology and it crippling your systems. It's the risk that you sit on. You try and get cyber liability insurance these days. 5 years ago, a few years ago, it was one page application. Now it's like 18
Yeah.
pages. And they're very selective at who they take. And they are very quick to deny claims.
Interesting.
So as a small to medium business owner, it's imperative that you partner with a company that's going to make sure you check all the boxes, because it's not a matter of if you're going to get hit, it's when you're going to get hit.
I've gone to different conferences and we've heard some talks about this. And I ask people, what do you have in place? And a lot of people shake their head that they don't have anything, and they go, it's a gimmick. You don't really need these things. But what was a ramification for one of either a client or one that you know about, where if the errors and omissions insurance didn't cover and they didn't have this other policy, lack of training, what was one of the biggest hits you saw a company face from a liability perspective?
There's one pretty big one. It was like 1.2 million or something like that. Was the fines that they were looking at.
So who's assessing these fines?
Yeah.
Do you know?
They're a healthcare organization.
Okay.
So not only did they have HIPAA that they were dealing with, but also PCI. So they had credit card information on there. And then of course, all the HIPAA stuff and the PII. So there was 3 different areas that they were really
And I'm just
suffering.
thinking, as an insurance broker, I've had your team help me with some of the implementation, but those of you in the financial services that take on Social Security numbers, we do have some of the e-applications have that security where it goes direct to the carriers and the underwriters, but it's even any of my friends that are watching, you can see where this can be really detrimental if you don't have those layers. Like you were talking about the onion in the first episode or second, peeling back the onion of all the things that could happen. And these people are very smart, maybe a little bored during COVID to be more creating more problems for us. But yeah, they're creating new ways every day. So, I'm certainly going to link up your information so people can ask you questions and see, is there a way that you can help or have a partner that can help them throughout the nation? I know that listeners are not always in Arizona, but you guys help all over the nation, I believe, correct?
We do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So any final takeaways for the listeners today, as far as even if you're not a business owner, or, I could even say as a new hire, if you're a new hire, maybe it's also part of your responsibility, not just the company that's hiring you, to take some initiatives and learn a little bit more. And we've talked about making sure you pick up the phone to verify. Maybe we'll land there, Bryan. What would be just some things for individuals just to be aware of and maybe pull in some things we've talked about from previous episodes, which I don't mind, but what would be maybe a couple things to finish up with today just to implement as an individual?
Sure. As an individual, it always goes back to the stop, look, and think, right? Just slow down. We've got to slow down a little bit. We've got to, when we're dealing with email, that's where they're trying to get us. So let's think about where are they really trying to hit us? Because we are what the bad guys are going after, we as humans. So they're going to go after our emails, they're going to go after our phones, they're going to go after our texts. So it's more important than ever to be savvy about that. If you get your spam risk come across on your caller ID, don't answer it. I'm amazed at how many people still answer that when they see the caller ID come up.
Well, now, before we can wrap up, then I need to ask you a question. If you're answering these spam calls, is there a way for them to then do something else if you say hello?
If you say hello, oftentimes they're going to probe you for information. But for one, it also lets them know that a live person does answer that phone call. So this is a live number.
Okay.
So they're going to keep hitting it. And then, again, if they get you live and you're talking to them, they're going to try and sound extremely convincing, especially the elderly folks that answer those calls. It's not Microsoft calling you. Microsoft isn't going to call you
Right.
and tell you have a ransom, you have virus on your computer. IRS is not going to call you and tell them you owe them money.
Yep.
They're going to send you letters. So
Yeah.
things like that. Just think logically. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Does it feel off? Trust your gut is the biggest
I guess
thing
that's
can
like
say.
perfect for any lesson. Stop and smell the roses. Stop and think. We all need to kind of slow down as it is. And, they're certainly taking advantage of us as just being really busy people. So if anything, we could close with just, kind of slowing down and just really, does something make sense? And if not, verify. And so that's a good rule of practice really for anything. So for those of you who are just listening into this episode, we have a couple more with a lot more information jam-packed in. So appreciate you all being here. Bryan, thanks for coming back. And I really appreciate all the stories and the information. And hopefully people will take some action today with what you've taught them. So thanks again.
Thank you, Amber. It's been my pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Amber Stitch Show. For more information about the podcast, books, articles, and more, please visit me at amberstitch.com. Until next week, enjoy your journey at home and at work. Thank you for listening.